have become very successful the further out you look into the future.
All right. Well, perfect. It sounds like we're getting set up here. And as soon as we get rolling with slides, I'll jump into it. But while we're getting things set up, maybe I'll just give a quick intro of Main Street Data. So I'm Mike Feeney, and if you recognize the name, it's because I grew up, I think about 6 miles straight south of the Ivesdale elevator there. So I grew up with a view of the Ivesdale skyline, kind of a local guy, but have been just about everywhere since. So after graduating college, spent about, a little over a decade with ADM, worked for them in Latin America and Europe primarily, but also in the US as well, setting up origination businesses, trade businesses, and even ran the European Transportation Group for a while. After a while with ADM, moved on, and am now with Main Street Data, which has been an amazing process. Main Street Data is a really exciting startup, and we're gonna be talking to you guys about it in depth. But before we get into it, I'm gonna hand it over real quick to Tim Davis, who's also an Illinois guy, to give himself a quick introduction.
Well, thanks, Mike. So yes, my name's Tim Davis, and I live a couple hours away, hour and a half away on the other side of Springfield, a little town called Petersburg, Illinois, raised on a farm there in Menard County, Cass County, Sangamon County area. I spent a lot of years with Continental Grain and then Cargill, managed terminals, managed salespeople on the road, working with growers on risk management, crop insurance, full market advisory services. And then now I'm with Main Street Data. Mike and I are both in business development, working on bringing on retailers and co-ops like Premier to bring tools to them and to bring data intelligence to them. So I'll turn it back over to Mike, and he'll give a quick intro of the company.
Right, awesome. Thanks, Tim. So the slide we got on the screen here today, and this is something that Tim and I have kind of worked on as the principles of our partnerships and the approach we take to doing business. And that kind of comes in these 4 pillars, and I'll just mention them really quickly because they are very important to you, to our way of doing business. So if you look at it, I think first of all, we've used the term partnership already quite a few times, and that's because it's really important to us. So we don't really come into a situation unless we think that we're going to be a beneficial partner in producing results for an organization and for our customers on the other end. How do we do that? And I think that comes in 3 pretty easy buckets, right? We're a data science company. We produce risk intelligence and software solutions. Now, we're going to be focusing quite a bit on the software solution side of that later with Tim's presentation of Market Vision, which is where I think everybody's going to be really interested. Just to give you a flavor for where all the information comes from to Market Vision, we're going to start out a little bit with the data science and risk intelligence aspects. So I'll switch over to the next slide here and dive a little bit deeper into where all the data and data science comes from. So our data science platform, and the slide's moving a little slow here, but I'll get started anyway. Our data science platform is based on a crop stage modeling, and it actually comes from a legacy of about a decade of work done. So, I think it's really important when analyzing a piece of software that you're going to be using on your farm, you're going to be using it at the local level, you're going to be putting a lot of sensitive information in there. One of the things that separates Main Street Data's approach from some of the other products in the market, and one of the reasons that I'm here today and with Main Street Data, we're not looking to collect data. So what was the basis for all of what you're going to see today was a massive endeavor over about 7 years. There were actually more than 350 combines running all over the U.S., starting from south finishing up in the north, and just collecting millions of acres every year of data on corn and soybeans. Also wheat. We haven't taken a deep dive into wheat yet, but corn and soybeans was our primary focus. And what we did was actually hack into the canvas on the combine, live stream data at the very granular level of 150 square feet. So what that means is every second that the combines from our legacy organizations of FarmLink and MachineryLink were in a field, every second they were running through a field, they were shooting back calibrated yield samples. And I say calibrated because I think that's a really important part of understanding the base level of the data. The first year that data was collected, and I'm talking about millions of acres, 2/3 of it had to be thrown out because of a lack of consistent calibration. And I think that's a really important part of understanding, the value of live streamed data or user inputted data in a system. All of our data is already collected. We're not looking to take any of the current inputted yields and apply them to our data set, because I think the last thing you want to do is trust an unlimited amount of users inputting yield information when you took so much time, so much energy, and invested so much money in collecting a good, clean data set to utilize for all of our algorithms, all of our math, and all of the risk intelligence that we produce. So for the next slide, I'll go into a little bit of what we do once we have that data and are able to process it. And that's based on a crop stage modeling format, which means essentially while others will start with a certain day of the year, compare it to a historical trend line average, we actually start when the crop stage develops. So like from emergence to tassel, and then through the pollination stage. And I think what you'll see when we dive into a little bit of the output of the model is just that and the importance of it. So I think, the number one thing to keep in mind about where everything comes from is just that there is an existing data set of millions of acres broken down to that very granular level of 150 square feet, which allows us to look in and create a bottoms-up algorithm, meaning every 150 square feet is aggregated up to the county level, starting at the field level to the county level, to the state level, and then finally producing a national average, which allows us to zoom in on any one location in a really nice way. So from here, we're going to jump right into our platform. And this is our progressive weather yield platform, which is something that Premier has access to at the co-op level. So we provide this as a way to give your farm marketers that you're working with a really good look at not only what's happening at the local level, but also at the national level. So this isn't a part of Market Vision specifically, but when we talk about creating those partnership environments where everybody's benefiting from the flow of communication and information, and taking this massive amount of data to do it, these are some of the results of that, that you'll be able to benefit from indirectly. So if you look at the screen there, just hovering over some of the counties, this is the corn yield map. You've got Ford coming in at about 175 predicted, Livingston all the way up at 195. There's a pretty good level of volatility, even at the county level, for what we're predicting to come out to what has turned out to be over the last 10 years back tested, a hyper accurate way to assess yield, not only at that local level, but all the way up to the big hitting numbers. And if I'll just switch over here really quick to the bean side of things, and show you a little bit of what we're seeing there as well. But I think it's important just to see what we've got here, and be able to navigate through that as we are. Let's see. Sorry, the beans are taking a little bit here. Actually, I'll bring up the bean here, and then we'll jump to some of the charts so you guys don't have to wait on it loading quite so much. But beans looking similarly, there's just a lot of green on the map. And I think the important thing to understand is what this says is we take a 30-year trend line average of what crop expectations should be. So a lot of green on the map is showing, like, for example, there we have a 61.4, which is the yield for Champaign County. And all that green just says that's going to be a significant bump off of what to expect from that 25-year trend line average. And we also adjust that up for things like technological development, improvements in everything from farm practice through to genetics, to keep it in line with the growth of the industry, the growth of production, and everything in between. So I think real quick, why don't we jump to our national numbers? And I think this is important because there's nobody that's going to have a better view on your own production than you yourself, especially when working with a product like Market Vision. But one of the benefits of the progressive weather yield software, that again, this is something that Premier has access to, is its view on what national compares to local. So what we do, we start at the very granular level. We start at the field and subfield level, collecting all this information, roll it up into a national average. And last year, we're within 1/10 of a bushel of the USDA's final number by the end of the season here. And one thing that I think is really important to point out here, and again, one of the best selling points of Main Street Data as a company is, this is a record crop, and we've been saying it for quite a while. If you look at this chart and follow the green dotted line, the dashes in black are going to be the USDA's number. That green line is going to show what we've been showing through all of our algorithms as our best prediction of end of season yield. And we've been calling it above 180 since June, which I didn't hear anybody out there very early saying, hey, look out, this is going to be a big crop. And what's important about that is that same information didn't only feed back through Market Vision, but came from the exact same data science approach to assessing the crop. So at Main Street Data, our goal here is to let you know early what to expect all the way from your field up through to the national averages. And rather than jump around, I'll pull up the bean version of this same chart, and then we'll get right to it and jump in with Tim to the Market Vision product itself. Now that you kind of know where everything's coming from, I think it'll be really interesting to see what we can then do with this massive amount of data at the very local level. Bear with me here. So pulling up soybeans, again, just expecting a really good season here. And with soybeans, I think it's even more interesting to look through to the ranges. If you look, and we're right on the cusp here of the fill stage, or the average grain fill stage at 80% here. Once we're past that, the range of possibilities that our data science approach is expecting starts to get pretty narrow. And I think that's important when you're looking at marketing a crop on what to expect. I would say these are going to be your futures indicators. And when we look into Market Vision, we're going to have that and a whole lot more. But just to give you a good base on where this comes from and what type of company we are at MSD, I think it's important to kind of establish that and then dive in here deep. So with that, I'm going to actually pass it over to Tim. We have at the end, if anybody's interested in the specifics of where the numbers are coming from or what the numbers are on counties, we have some Excel spreadsheets that we've put together from the CSV files that this system outputs. And we'd be happy to run through the state level, the county level, and everything in between. But for interest of time, I think we're going to jump right into market vision here with Tim. So I'll hand it over, and really thank you guys, and hope you enjoy.
Okay, thanks, Mike. So what we're going to show you here is a tool that Premier now has available to its customers. It is a grain marketing platform that helps you make decisions on when to pull the trigger. We always know that's difficult. Some of the farm marketers before were talking about that. You tend to pull too early and then it goes up. You wait too late, the bottom falls out, and then frustration sets in, and it's hard marketing grain. We know that. Most farmers say it's the most difficult thing that they do in their business. And so this tool is set up to take the data that Mike just talked about and help give you some guidance. It's not a foolproof tool. You're going to work with your farm marketers. You're going to work with Premier and do some of the contracts that they were showing you earlier. This is just another tool that's driven by data to help you make some decisions. And there's really three ways that it does it. And we'll walk through these pretty quickly. If you're interested, let your farm marketers know. They'll come make an appointment with you and go through it in detail. I'm just going to give you some highlights. For me personally, I was in the grain business over 25 years, and we did a lot of helping growers make better marketing decisions. And I wish I would have had this visual tool because it would have made a difference and could have made folks more money. But we have it now, and we'll walk through it here. So what you're seeing here is the market page of the application. This is where we provide sell signals or sell windows of when to pull the trigger on the grain. So the lay of the land is there is an elevator search where you can search in a delivery point, whatever market is the advantageous market for you, via price, via trucking, whatever market you want to put into the system, you pick delivery point, I should say. And that's there because now we know where we can sell additional grain at. That's the local price of this delivery point. Now, this is all off of my farm over in Menard County. So our delivery point right now is a rail market just outside of Springfield, showing a pretty strong basis, needing corn, I guess, in the early part of harvest. And so that's the one that I selected. And then down here in the yellow is December futures. And then this is time down here at the bottom. So this is today would be the end of the graph there. And then it goes all the way back to September of 2019. And then the blue is what we call our national fair value price. So all the data that Mike just showed you, we obviously have a bias on crop size. We also have a bias on demand. And we also bring in world supply information, and we create an algorithm through the data to create this national fair value price. So in essence, we are saying based on our data, and I know you guys don't want to hear this, but futures are probably a little too high. We're saying that around 15 cents lower is really where the market should be trading at if our supply forecast of 183, 184 bushel of corn is what actually happens. So that's the sell signal in and of itself. When national fair value is less than futures, it's a sell signal. When national fair value is above futures, it's a hold signal. But then we also look through the market, through the marketing year, and we actually create these windows of time that are exceptional sell signals based on technical analysis and other data science. And so it's not telling you exactly what day to pull the trigger. It's not telling you how much to sell. It's not telling you how to sell it. Remember, one of our pillars was risk intelligence. We're providing the data. The Premier team will provide the same value they've been providing before you had this tool. We're just using the data to help create these sell windows. So to go through 2020 real quick, our first sell window was back in the harvest of 19. So when you were busy harvesting your 19 crop, this tool was churning and coming up with its information and saying, hey, this is probably a good spot to make your first 2021 sale. Just like Tanner and the other farm marketers were saying, maybe you should be looking at the 21 crop right now. This tool was saying to sell then. Then there was another sale opportunity right around the 1st of January. Both of those opportunities had futures prices a little north of $4. So very exceptional sales if you would have followed the advice. And then we've had 2 more windows since then. One prior to the USDA report dropping the acres intentions by 5 million around the 340 area. And then this is the most recent one that we had right here is the day the report came out. The board goes up, but so does our fair value, but the spread stays there, which I call that sort of a double sell signal. We're saying that there's a green sell signal, and we're also showing fair value underneath the futures price. So this is a data tool, no human bias in it. And I like that because a lot of grain advice does have human bias in it. And I think this is what makes this tool advantageous for someone to look at and use. We know no one's going to pull the trigger every single time there's a sell window. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to show you the opportunity based on data. Then if we move to the dashboard, I don't know how long this will take to change for you guys to see it, but this is giving you a daily picture of the profitability of your farming operation. And the way it does it is through some key data points that really change in real life. What changes on your farm to affect your revenue? Well, your yield goes up and down, futures go up and down, basis goes up and down. Your best delivery point changes sometimes throughout the year based on where the grain needs to flow to. And this tool encompasses all of that every day. And I'll show you how it does it. So the first thing you do is you put in your fields into the farm. And there's a couple, 3 different ways to do this. The farm marketing team can show you how you can do it. I chose to put in every individual field. It's a CLU layer map. It's a click and put the farm name on it. To put in 30, 40 fields takes around an hour probably to do. You can do it at the county level and do it much quicker. We can also take electronic shape files and enter the fields for you. So there's several ways to do it. But once you have your fields in here, then the forecasting that Mike just talked about, we use that same level of data analysis to forecast, and we forecast each field. You need to give us a starting point, just like we have a trend line for all the counties. You need to give us a starting point. So in this Davis Farms 1, I said it should produce 220 bushels in an average year. Right now, because we've had good growing conditions, we're forecasting at 8.5 bushels higher than that. So that's going to happen on every field every day. Some days you don't get an adjustment, but it's looking every day to see if an adjustment should happen up or down. And then all of these fields are then accumulating up to this anticipated production. So this is Davis Farms. I've got 586 acres in this farm. And today, based on Main Street Data's forecast, we're going to produce 128,000 bushels and change on this 586 acres. What that then lets us do is it lets us compute an exact percent sold number. So I've made sales. I've followed the sell signals that I showed you on the previous page, and I'm currently 51% sold at around a 372 average on those sales based on the sell signals. But what it does is it produces an exact percent sold based on the production. So what I like about that is that it allows you to keep your percent sold moving with your crop. So a lot of people get concerned about getting oversold. Well, if your crop is shrinking, it's going to do the math and make sure that you don't get oversold. However, the real value is in a big crop year because it's moving your production up as the yields are being predicted to be higher, and you can keep your percent sold tied to your production. So we always know, generally in big crop years, it's better to sell those bushels and know you have those bushels in June and July than to find out you have them in October. It's always great to have extra bushels, but you lose that marketing opportunity between what the price would have been had you sold them in July and what the price normally is lower in fall. So that's a huge value to this program, in my opinion, is keeping track of your percent sold and selling those extra bushels early rather than later. And then we simply then do a projected profit, and we do that every day. And the way we do that is we also ask you to enter in a gross cost per acre. So that'll be up to you to decide what that number is. It will come with a number pre-filled based on the zip code of the farm, but we ask that you would adjust that to exactly what you think your costs are, and you can amend that through the growing season as well. And then that's going to give us a break-even price or a cost per bushel. And then over here, what we're doing is we've got 49% of these bushels left to sell. So we're hypothetically selling them at the delivery point that I chose yesterday's closing price. So we're hypothetically selling that 49%. And if we did that, we'd have a weighted sales price at $343. That would create revenue of $750 an acre, which would then give us this type of profit. If our costs are correct and our forecast is correct, then this number is pretty darn correct. I mean, it's pretty accurate process if all the inputs are in line. So what that does is that gives you a look at what does my farm look like at year end. And I think that's really important, again, to make better marketing decisions, is to be informed as to what that looks like. Probably the main value of this would come after harvest. You know exactly what your bushels produced, and you can see if I sell this last 20% of my crop, here's what I'm going to make, or the last 30 or 40% of my crop, here's what it's going to make. So the tool is designed to just give you a look, see at what's going on at your farm every single day as everything moves. If you make another sale, your percent sold is going to change, your revenue is going to change. If your forecast goes up or down, these numbers are going to change. If you move your delivery point around, they're going to change. If the basis for futures change, obviously this is going to change. So it's very dynamic, and it kind of gets addicting. You want to come in and look at it every other day and see what's changing, see what's happening. But it's a very, very good tool so that your farm marketers and you can sit down and use this to make more informed marketing decisions, and that's what it's designed to do. So if any of this has piqued your interest, work with your farm marketers, give it a try. I think you'll enjoy it. I think it will help you a lot in terms of, again, making more informed marketing decisions. And with that, I'll wrap up. Do we have anybody going to close?
Yeah, I'll close real quick.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.